to talk more about that, we're joined by Catherine Perez-Shakhdam, Head of Policy and Communication at ELNET UK and an expert on the Middle East. Catherine, thank you for being with us. And really a terrible disaster and a sign of just how impoverished people in Yemen are. They were all queuing up and desperate to get their hands on that small amount of aid.
Absolutely. I mean, aid is coming up either today or tomorrow. And I think it has a lot to do with this. People are quite desperate, for any aid that would come their way. And I think not only is this a tragedy, but it's a tragedy that could have been avoided so easily if the Houthi were not so intent on weaponizing humanitarian aid and ensuring that people are so very desperate for food and medicine and access to any form of help that this kind of tragedy could take place. And unfortunately, it's happening all across Yemen. It's happening almost every day. People are dying, and unnecessarily by the hand of the Houthi because they choose to not distribute aid and trying to allocate it to people who do support them, as opposed to the people who do need them.
And of course, we've also heard very alarming reports about child soldiers being used by the Houthis. Tell us a bit more about how they weaponize aid.
Well, it is very simple. I mean, for many years now, Yemen, has suffered a tremendous humanitarian crisis, and a lot of organizations have reached out to the Houthis saying that they wanted to send aid. This aid is very often, actually, I would say all the time, received in Sana'a airport or elsewhere, and the Houthis are quite simply storing this aid with the goal of only, number one, trying to sell it out to people, and number two, making sure that it's only distributed to its soldiers or the organization that support its regime and its ideology, rather than trying to attempt to alleviate poverty in Yemen throughout. So this is something that they have done for a great many years. It's profoundly illegal. It stands against humanitarian law, international law, but nothing has been done by way of preventing that state of affair. And it's a tragedy in itself, but also shows you that the Houthis are intent on dictating the tone and making sure that people stay in poverty, remain in poverty, or choose, out of desperation to abide by the ideology and acquiesce to their rule, which is ultimately the goal.
Looking more broadly, though, we have, it has to be said, seen the Houthis willing to go ahead with prisoner exchanges with Saudi Arabia. Do you see some positive signs that there might be an end to the conflict in sight?
Possibly, and only I would say because the Islamic Republic has decided that it might be time in order to broker a deal with Saudi Arabia to put an end to this conflict. We have to remember that, of course, the Houthi, are a client of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Every decision that is made in Sana'a is actually made prior in Tehran, and they basically, follow the law dictated by Tehran. This is the problem. So I would say it's a step in the right direction. Whether or not we can consider Iran to be a genuine partner in peace, I'm doubtful. But if it helps the Saudi to solve the Yemeni issue, why not? But I don't know what that means moving forward.
Catherine Perez-Shakhdam, thank you very much indeed.